The fact that isu takasara tiri pano harvest house tiri su MDC-T, everything that belong to Tsvangirai ndezvedu.
I want President Mugabe to enjoy his retirement in peace and comfort.
We must conquer our own prejudice. We must divest ourselves of our own hatred against each other.
Tapasina kupindira kwaishe nechokwadi pasi pano taiona moto marongera vanoita wepanyika
Vakawina election ya 2008.
tioneswe moto tapasina kupindira kwaishe nechokwadi pasi pano taiona moto marongera vanoita wepanyika vanoda kutizo amwe tioneswe moto dai pasina kupindira kwaishe kana dzimba dzedu dzingadai dziri dzavo mawanzira vanoita dzimba dzavo.
Good afternoon and thank you for joining us on this your favorite program, the most sought after current affairs program in Zimbabwe. This the situation right now. And this is a hot seat where we discuss the socio-political and economic issues. We have discourse on the issues that should concern you, that should matter to you. Now, in the past few weeks, there's been a lot of talk about dialogue. There's been a lot of talk about people sitting together and discussing the issues of Zimbabwe's political and economic problems. Some believe that it's the politics, stupid. Some believe that it's just an issue of implementation of reforms and lack of leadership. But the person who's been talking about dialogue is none other than the chairperson of the MDC-T, which is led by Douglas Togarase Monzora. And he joins me in studio this afternoon to discuss his views on dialogue, the party's position on dialogue, and what dialogue can assist Zimbabwe with. Now, thank you very much, Senator Komichi, for joining us this afternoon. Now, let us just cut to the chase. You have been calling for dialogue, and some people have been insulting you. Now, just lay the basis, the foundation. When you say dialogue, what dialogue are you talking about, and what format do you want it to take?
Thank you so much, Blessing. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to talk about this famous topic of today, which is dialogue. One thing that we all agree in Zimbabwe, all of us, whether you are in government, whether you are in any political party, we are in a political and economic crisis. We all agree that we're in a crisis. In all situations, when you get into a crisis, some of the crises actually go to an extent of fighting, civil wars. For an example, Zimbabwe, this country came from a war situation where the Mugabes of that time, the Gomos of that time, and the Smith of that time fought a gruesome war where people killed each other. Many people were murdered in Mozambique, in Zambia, in many other places here in Zimbabwe. But at the end of the day, with the dialogue, Longest House, the famous Longest House, to settle the problem that was there. Let's come to our own situation. We've been fighting in this country for the last 21 years, fighting the ZANU-PF government. We've been on the street, we've been to jails, people have been raped, homes were burnt, many people died. the economic crisis in this country is now ripe for a dialogue. The government is under pain because of the economic crisis. The people of Zimbabwe are under pain because of the economic crisis. We are mutually hurt by that. When a crisis mutually hurts the people, the governing and the governed, the time to dialogue is ripe. We are going to be dialoguing not about power, from my point of view. Power issues will be dealt with in 2023 elections. Our angle of dialogue is mainly emphasized on point of resolving the economic crisis. I don't need to explain how much people have suffered in Zimbabwe economically. The cost of living is beyond reach. Hospitals have no medicine. Roads have been declared national disaster at the moment. Safe delivery councils is unbearable. There's no cash in the country. Things are difficult. People are asked to buy fuel on the service station using US dollars when there's no US dollar in the country. Workers are being paid bond notes. The bond note is losing value in the country. So there's a lot of economic challenges that we have. We're in a serious economic crisis. And we need dialogue. ZANU-PF is a part of this problem as well as the part of the solution. We need to engage them. And opposition political parties that are here, they are going to be part of the solution. And we cannot get a solution in Zimbabwe if we do not engage. Those ones that are hating, those ones that are being hurt, need to come to a point where they should actually dialogue. So the dialogue should emphasize on economic crisis as well as electoral reforms. We want to go for an election in 2023. We are almost 2 years before elections, and we have not even agreed on a single electoral reform. How do we expect to resolve the challenges of 2018? How do we expect to resolve the challenges of 2013? How do we expect the electoral challenges of 2008 if we do not engage the authority that is there? We need the ZANU-PF government to underline electoral reforms. We want to go for a free and fair election. We want to see an independent ZEG. We don't want to see food distribution being given to people in the rural areas on partisan lines. We don't want to see the military getting involved in the elections. We don't want to want fairness. We want people to campaign freely. We don't want violence in the rural areas. Chiefs have been intimidating us. We need to deal with these things as a matter of fact. And if we do not engage this. But however, for these things to succeed, it needs leadership. When you lead an organization, you need to be a good leader. To lead and a good leader are two different things. We need a good leader who realizes that he or she is supposed to resolve conflicts. And conflicts in any nature are resolved by good leaders. It is a leader who should give you a solution, because one of the tasks of the leader is problem solving. If you are a leader and you are averse to conflict resolutions, you've got a problem. You are just there as a position occupier, but you don't have the nature and the characteristics of a good leader.
Okay, so let us have. You're talking about a two-step dialogue. From the post that I saw coming from your Facebook account, you were also talking about you can't win elections in 2023 if you do not have unity between the warring MDCs. Now, can you also explain on that?
I got two objectives I'm pursuing, national objectives that I'm pursuing. One as a national chairperson of the party, one as an individual. The one objective that I pursue vigorously and honestly and seriously is the national unity. Number two is national dialogue. You cannot even go in a dialogue if you don't have a national unity. If you go to a dialogue being divided as we are, we undercut each other. We betray each other. We go to the national dialogue with our past. It will definitely affect the outcome of the dialogue, the quality of the dialogue will be affected by that. So we need to deal with this hate that we have, these past that we have. We need to deal with them through a national unity. National unity to me is I believe the answer to resolve the economic challenges and the political challenges of this country.
When you say you can't go into a dialogue while you're divided between who and who?
Oh, here in Zimbabwe, the political parties are divided. I don't need to mention names here, but I want to tell you we are divided. You have just told me that you have been bashed for calling for national dialogue. You have been bashed for calling national unity. I want unity in this country. Let me go back to the history of unity. We attempted to have a unity in 2008 when we were with the Save Zimbabwe campaign. Unfortunately, one of the political parties by then, whom we had worked together in the Save Zimbabwe campaign, led by Professor Westman, decided to support the candidature of Zimbabwe. ZANU-PF had an easy platform to give Zimbabwe an 80%. And he justified to the nation and the world over that Zimbabwe got 80%. And reduced the Morgan Komichi's votes from 70-something% to 49%, 48%. That was caused by lack of unity. Had we not given ZANU-PF that opportunity of establishing Zimbabwe on this platform, they were not going to have it easy to rig. Come 2013, we tried as well to forge for an alliance. I personally talked to people like Chamisa. I had meetings with them and many other political parties, but it did not materialize. We learned a lesson when it came to 2014-2018 elections. 2014-2018 elections. We had to say we will not go to 2018 elections without a unity. Remember, 2014 as a year is the same year in which Tendai Biti left this organization. But do you want to know that it is the same year that we conceptualized the idea to unite the party?
Then in 2018, you also then fractured the party.
Let me.
So when you talk about unity,
let me take you through.
Why do you divide to unite?
Let me take you through. It was not easy in 2014 to call for the unity between Morgan Komichi and Tendai Biti, because that is the same year that Tendai Biti had left Morgan Komichi. It was a tough job.
But now,
I want to emphasize,
now you're calling for unity between Nelson Chamisa and Douglas Monzo.
I want to emphasize
how do you do that? Because you were united in the 2018 elections. You then fractured. Now you're talking about uniting again. I want to understand that.
Westman was in MDC. Tendai Biti was in MDC. But in 2018, we went to elections together. So that happens. These conflicts take place, but they need leadership to be resolved. You don't need to fail to unite because you had fractured before. Westman went away, Tendai Biti went away, but in 2018, we went to elections together under one umbrella. So Zimbabweans are challenged today to make sure that you go to election 2023 united.
But how do you unite when, for instance, when you were celebrating the life and legacy of Morgan Komichi, you stood there and you said the most divisive statement that I've ever heard, that Nelson Chamisa does not have people. They belong to you. And now you are saying you want to unite with that same person. How does that work?
I don't think that is the problem at all. Do you go back and open the files of what Tendai Biti said about Morgan Komichi? He called him Gumbura. Westman did a lot of harm to Morgan Komichi's personality. Tendai Biti did a lot of harm to Morgan Komichi's personality. That's politics. The facts are true. That MDC alliance is our electoral pact. It is. That has been dealt with by the legal minds. The courts have dealt with it. An answer is there. The court ruled that MDC alliance property belongs to MDC-T, such as members of parliament and councillors. That has been dealt with. You cannot go back to discuss those things.
Are you being honest there when you say the court said MDC Alliance MPs belong to the MDC-T? Are you being honest there? Because you can't recall Tendai Biti, can you? We
don't need to. That's actually the alliance part of it, because that is what is contained in the alliance. In the alliance,
so it's not yours; it's a part. You can't own an agreement to say this is ours by yourself.
We are deriving the ownership of members of parliament and councillors, but that is where the dispute is. So my target audience there, that I was talking to, was our members of parliament that were in the alliance, our members of our councillors, our supporters. You know, when I was speaking at that particular event, I was speaking to the audience. The people because we need to remove some perceptions. And we need to educate the people, so that people don't understand this alliance thing. Because many people don't understand it. Many people have been questioning us. How are we recalling members of parliament? How are we recalling the councillors? So we got the duty to educate them that in the alliance we got a very big share. And members of the parliament.
You have a big share, but it's not yours.
It's a collective alliance for members of the parties that participated.
So you can't.
So nobody can claim it to be a political party. This is where our issue is. You cannot then say it's a political party.
But you can't also claim it to be yours. You can't.
We have a big share in it.
But it's not yours.
It's ours together. We got also members that both we are signatories to that. So we actually claim ownership to it. Both we signed.
Can you win an election in 2023 without Nelson Chamisa?
Not without Nelson Chamisa. Without the unity.
Can you win?
Nelson Chamisa, God can make his decision at any particular time. So we do not need to focus these things on personalities. We don't say so and so must unite. That's not the way to go. We don't personalize these things. We want to talk about national unity. The people must unite. Because tomorrow, God might decide on Morgan Komichi. And Morgan Komichi can be in heaven tomorrow or in hell.
Let me rephrase that. Can you win the 2023 general elections without uniting with the MDC alliance led by Nelson Chamisa?
I would actually, you're just actually repeating the same thing that I'm calling for. By national unity, and I'm giving examples, that we developed an MDC alliance based on the understanding that as long as political parties are divided, there's no winner. As long as political parties are not united.
You have no confidence that Douglas Monzora can win this by himself.
It's not about Douglas Monzora. It's not about Nelson Chamisa. It's not about Tendai Iti. It's not about Komichi. It's about the national unity, the reality that is there.
But do you have confidence?
Evidence is there.
Do you have confidence?
We ran elections as MDC-T. We were scoring votes around 1.2 million for the last so many years. But when we then made a decision to unite political parties, we gave ourselves a national target of 4.5 million. And we managed to score more than 2 million votes coming out of unity. So unity is very vital. It's important. We must not actually be arguing or disputing about this thing. We must actually come together, put our heads together as leaders, and work on this issue as a unit. Do not blame Morgan Komichi or try to castigate Morgan Komichi. Morgan Komichi is talking about the truth. The truth is about unity. If we were to go for a reasonable election in 2023, we must unite people in Zimbabwe. We must have all political parties that are in the opposition side unite, work with civil society, work with churches, work with vendors, work with everyone who believes that we must bring change to Zimbabwe. We want a good living in Zimbabwe, and we must have a viable opposition, and that comes from united front of political parties. Look, in any other countries that have managed to bring change in African states, in Malawi, in Zambia, in Kenya, opposition political parties have put their differences aside and united. We do not use personalities. We do not have enmities. There must not be enmities between Morgan and Nelson, between Nelson and Douglas. There must not be an enmity at all. Let us put the interests of the people in front. Let us put the Zimbabwe interest in front. Our personal ego interests must be put behind the sofa. Forget about them. They are not important. They don't serve Zimbabwe's interests. They don't save our lives. We must actually behave as leaders. As leaders, let's look at each other. Let us face each other head on and be able to resolve our problems and resolve the people's problems. My call that I'm putting forward to Zimbabweans, let us unite Zimbabweans. Let us act as leaders. Let us not be ruled or be managed by our personal hatred or our personal egos. That aside, I don't even want to discuss them as far as I'm concerned, because I don't want to dwell much in the negatives. I want to dwell much in the positives.
Some have said that you are unprincipled, selfish, and always looking out to your own political survival. What do you think of that statement?
Though that is an unfair statement, because I'm one person who is very principled. This is the MDC-T I still belong, that I am today. That is the one that was left by Morgan Komichi. We've gone through political,
on the eve of your
argument.
Congress, on the eve of your Congress, after your Congress, you sat there, delivered a press statement that you needed to stop what had happened on December 27. It was a farce. It was violent. It was not a proper election. 2 days down the line, you changed song. Many believe that this was to protect your senatorial seat and the perks that comes with it, including the SUV vehicle.
What about if I say I'm more interested in building the party? I'm more interested in making sure that the solutions or the challenges of the Zimbabwean economies and political economies or political crises are resolved by the party.
By overlooking what you say is a farce.
What about if I say I'm not too much worried about positions. I'm much worried about the people and the party. I had two things to pursue here. To pursue an argument on positions, which is about me. That position was about me.
Principle is not about you. If something is wrong, it's never about you.
I've said the position is about me. Mm-hmm. And there's a part which could actually face disintegration, which could actually probably could have split.
It has already split, hasn't it not?
And I've chosen to make sure that I unite the party. I've chosen to make sure that I build the party.
But it has already split, Chairman Komichi.
To serve the interest of the party. It's not a split.
You split it with Nelson Chamisa, and the like.
That's something else.
That is a split.
I mean, talk about MDC-T. Let's talk about the MDC-T. We can go to the Nelson Chamisa and the later. But for the time being, let us talk about uniting the MDC-T. Because there was a potential of a split from the election outcome of 27 December.
Why would the election outcome?
I chose to unite the people.
But
I chose to make sure that
why would the election
on make sure that is that.
Why would an election split a party?
That's how I say there could have been a potential, and we need to deal with that. And my focus after 27 December was to unite the party and unite the party. Because to me, that is what we are here for. We are here for the party. Positions, yes, of course. And to me, the position is just a byproduct. Probably the most important thing is to ensure that the party is kept together, is kept united. The party, and at the moment, I'm happy that there is unity within the party, and we are working within the party to unite our people. I'm very happy about that. I've sacrificed the position issue. So other people can interpret it in saying it's the selfish thing, it's the what. That's their interpretation. But they must hear from me. I found it very selfish for me to pursue the position at the expense of uniting the party.
Chairman, perception matters. And as a political leader, you would know this, that the perception that you create becomes a reality. Now, you, as you say that your interest was to unite the party so that it does not split. But when the Supreme Court judgment came, you were quick to jump to a position that actually split the party. Because it gave you an opportunity to gain a position. Is that not it?
It was the choice of others. Remember, my statement was not even at least selective at all. My statement as a national chairperson on that particular day called upon everybody who was in MDC to accept, to receive warmly the Supreme judgment and to prepare for the extraordinary Congress. If you remember very well, that speech was not...
You had lost that position as the national chairman of the party. You had served in the MDC alliance as the secretary to the president.
We don't want to go to those things that have been dealt with by the courts. The intellectuals in the field have dealt with that matter. The fundis and the land people have dealt with that matter.
I am testing your statement where you say
and the outcome
it
is
was
there.
not personal interest.
The outcome is there. We're now implementing the Supreme judgment. That had come of that particular day. We're implementing it, and we called for people to unite. We called for people to prepare for that Congress. It was then the groupings that then formed after that, because of the interpretations, the interests, the fears, the whatever which would happen, and that then separated the two groups. And we are saying At the end of the day, the two groups were formed. The two groups must realize that their responsibility is to resolve issues that affect the people of Zimbabwe.
Do you believe
we had three groups before.
Do you believe that the 27 December Extraordinary Congress was held fairly?
It had its challenges. It had its challenges. But as I said, I don't want to focus much on the negatives. I want to focus on the positives.
As a man of principle.
But it had its challenges, and we're going to be dealing with those challenges.
As a man of principle,
Yes.
why would you respect a president elected in an election that has challenges?
We are going to resolve those things. We had these kind of relationships have been like that before in MDC, and we need to develop, to grow, to make sure that these things are resolved. But you cannot then resolve them when you are in a mountain or in trees. You need to sit down. These are some of the issues that we need to deal with. These are the issues that we need to make sure that they are dealt with, and make sure that we would one day achieve a democratic process that is well accepted. Problems are there, but they must be confronted and be resolved. We don't run away from those particular problems. If you run away from those particular problems, you create more fractures and more divisions and more splits, and it won't help you. Confront the problems as they are, deal with them, make sure that you have internal discussions, internal engagement, internal reforms to resolve those things that are taking place. We cannot try to shy away.
So, some would believe that you know that the 27 December EOC was held above board. You were just angry because you lost this money.
These are the issues that I've said they are going to be dealt with internally. They are going to be dealt with, part of the internal reforms, part of the of growth and development within the party, things that I said we're going to be dealing with them. And I've said, let us not always focus on the negatives. The negatives will not give us any solution. Let us deal with the positives. And I've decided to deal with the positives. And to me, the positives are going to bring change. The positives are going to bring unity. The positives are going to bring growth in the opposition political parties. So the negatives are there, but let us not put forward the negative much, because they will take us backwards. They would not really give us growth and development. So at the moment, let us focus on the positives. Let us focus on the growth of the organization. We appreciate the problems that are there. We must deal with them as we go.
Just a few days ago, your national executive said, and discussed among other issues, the issue of POLAD. And it's in a statement that your party released, it said that there are some legal issues that you need to look at before you get into POLAD. Are you considering joining POLAD?
There are some legal issues, as the party said, that need to be looked at. If the legal issues would confine with our strategy, we'll make a decision.
But are you considering joining POLAD?
Not yet. We have not talked about that one yet.
So you spoke about engaging ZANU-PF and having dialogue. Which platform do you want to use to engage and have dialogue with ZANU-PF?
We need to have a platform which is not contaminated, which is not where people don't have negative perception about it.
POLAD is?
We need to have a platform that is fair, a platform where we feel we would have a fair say, a platform that will give us the confidence.
And doesn't POLAD
we would
that?
have to we are studying that. We have not yet come to that decision yet. We are still studying it. If it meets our requirements, then it's okay. But for the time being, we have not yet come to that decision.
You, in your opening remarks, you said that the economy is not performing, the people of Zimbabwe are hurting, and government is hurting, and it's now time to have a conversation. Now, what conversation really do you want to have?
With who?
With ZANU-PF. You said
whenever the situation or the country is in a crisis, like what we are, we're in a political crisis, economic crisis. The next step is make sure that we do that crisis. In any situations world over, Whether you start with the physical war, whether you got political challenges in the country, you have to come to a dialogue. You have come to engage each other. You have got to deal with that issue.
Maybe my question has not been put to you clearly. You have a government that was elected into office until 2023. And the premise of the electorate was to give executive power to a government so that it deals with economic problems. What would dialogue do to solve an economic problem that has to be solved by a finance minister?
The issue of dialogue is not the first thing to be talked about in this particular forum. We've had dialogues before. Remember in 2008, we had a dialogue that resolved at least the economic challenges of this country. People's lives improved by that time because people had a dialogue. In this country, there's economic crisis, there's political crisis. And those things, they need to be dialogued about.
What do you dialogue about 60 million disappearing in a Drugsgate scandal over COVID procurements? I mean, what do you want to talk about there? That you know, this is what I want you to show the nation, what you want to talk about, particularly.
You don't talk about that particular issue about you talk about governance. You talk about issues that will bring order to the country. Those particular issues, like the drugs issue and everything, are individual particular issues, of course.
Aren't they a show of lack of leadership?
That are a result of bad governance. Those are a result of the bad governance.
So you want to talk to ZANU-PF to improve its governance?
What you talk to your enemies, you don't talk to your friends. If you want to resolve a problem, a challenge in a country, you must be ready to talk to your enemies, to talk to people that you don't agree with.
Don't you dialogue with ZANU-PF in parliament every day?
If you don't agree with ZANU-PF, you must talk to them. If you don't agree to anyone, you must talk to that person. You must talk to them.
But don't you talk to ZANU-PF every single day in parliament?
We talk on issues. But remember how the parliament operates. Do you know how it operates? It operates on partisan lines. When you then have to dialogue as party to party outside parliament, you deal with issues that are hitting both sides. You don't dialogue to a partner if the partner is not hurt. We know we are all hurt here. Whether you are in opposition, whether you are in the ruling party, we are all hurt by what's happening in this country. You cannot be happy as a ruling party when the economy is performing like this. You cannot be happy as a ruling party when people are suffering. There's no employment in this country. Youth they are all suffering. Women are suffering. And many people are suffering.
My understanding of the dialogues that
cost of living is very high. So people must be able to engage each other and talk about those things and resolve.
My understanding of dialogue that has been in Zimbabwe, that has been the history of Zimbabwe, has mainly been to deal with issues of political violence and intolerance. In the Lancaster Conference, it was about transfer of power. The Gukurahundi dialogue that ended Gukurahundi and brought in the Unity Accord was about ending massacres and genocide. The government that was brought in by the National Unity was basically to discuss an issue that you mentioned as you opened, the stolen election of 2008. Now, here, what is it that you want to dialogue about? You know? Because the issue of economic performance is a ledger that is supposed to measure the government of the day. It's performance. They don't need to dialogue with anyone for them to perform, do they?
A good government will always want to engage. And you engage actors in the country to make sure that you improve the economy of the country. Is it arguable at the moment that the economic crisis in this Zimbabwe is very high? Is it arguable that the economy is not performing in this country? Is it arguable that the people of Zimbabwe are suffering? Is it arguable that Zimbabwe is not part of the international community? Is it arguable that this country is not trading with the other country? Is it arguable that this country is isolated? Is it arguable that this country is not part of the international world? These are the bigger issues that people must look at. We need to make sure that Zimbabwe becomes the part of the international family. It's not part of the international family. There's no investment taking place in this country. This country is isolated. People are suffering in this country. More than 90% of the people of Zimbabwe are not employed. More than 90% of the industry in this country is not performing.
Do you need dialogue to solve that? That's my question.
Yes, of course.
What kind of dialogue?
The people of Zimbabwe must come together and put their minds together and resolve these issues. These issues would come from a collective effort of all Zimbabweans from their different parts of operations. They must put their heads together. They must put their knowledge together and make sure that they resolve the challenge this country. This country has got political challenges. This country has got economic challenges. We need to resolve them as a family. There are different political parties in this country that must come together and make sure that we deal with our issues as a family. We must be proud as Zimbabweans to resolve our own internal issues. We must be proud as Zimbabweans to make sure that we have a Zimbabwe that has got at least 20% unemployment and 80% employment. We are not like that. Why? Why are we doing that? Why are we in an isolated country? Why are we under sanctions? These are the issues that must be dealt with. We must resolve them. We must be part of the international family. And selfishness and egocentric behavior would not give us anything to be proud of. I do believe that leaders in this country must engage. First of all, the opposition political leaders must come together, make sure that they provide a uniform, united front to confront the government. And that's why the government and the opposition parties must sit together and resolve these issues in Zimbabwe. The selfish approach that we are taking in Zimbabwe would only prolong the sufferings of the Zimbabweans.
Let me take you to your National Council meeting. You amended the constitution of the party at your National Council meeting. Was that legal?
To do what? Which one? Sorry?
Your National Council meeting that you had this year, I'm sure you only had one.
Yes.
You amended the constitution of your party. Was that legal?
No. It is the process that were taking place. We want to align with the national constitution. Remember, the national constitution has got more than one vice president. It has got actually 2 vice presidents.
But was the process that you are taking, because you did amend the constitution at a National Council meeting, was that constitutional?
It's not yet fully. It will be. It's an act that we have done, but we'll put it it will be ratified by the Congress. To be ratified by the Congress. What's wrong with that?
You are sure that Congress will ratify it?
It will. We'll talk to the people. And people will see the advantages about it. They will ratify.
Does National Council have the power to amend your party constitution outside Congress?
It can propose. This is a proposal that it is put forward for ratification that will take place when the Congress comes.
But you already have a second vice president. But you're telling me that this is a proposal. I don't understand what you're saying. Maybe you can help me understand.
It will be ratified. You can have the vice president at the moment, and it will be ratified at the Congress. By the way, do you have a copy of our constitution?
Yes, I do.
Can you have it? Can you open it?
I read it, and this is why I'm asking.
Do you still remember that in the constitution there is a clause that talked about vice presidency?
Which constitution? The one that was decided at the High Court that there's nothing like that, or the other one that you want us to talk about?
No, the one that we're using. The copy that we have at the moment. The copy that we have in your file. Go and check. The statement is about vice presidency, not vice presidency.
But I thought that was decided by the court, wasn't it?
No.
You changed the constitution after the court.
No. The court was about the appointment by President Morgan Komichi of the 2 vice presidents.
So your current constitution talks about vice presidents.
Yes, of course.
So what were you amending?
Because there's been this argument, isn't it? So wanted at least the council to endorse that. And that is...
Does it have power to do that? That is the center of my question. Does it have power to do that? Because your constitution says the constitution can only be amended in Congress.
But before the Congress can always have some proposals that we have at the moment.
So the issue of the second vice president is a proposal.
It will be taken to the National Congress for a final endorsement. But in between, you can still operate with it.
Okay. Does your president have power to appoint a treasurer general, a substantive spokesperson, outside Congress?
The president, at the moment, according to our Congress, he has got the power to appoint deputies to substantive positions. But the principals of those deputies will be acting until the next Congress.
So,
like at the moment, the TG is acting. The president has got the powers to appoint this deputy, for an example.
You appoint a substantive acting and a deputy. Is that what you're saying?
That is what is there.
I'm trying
because at the moment, the substantive positions will have to remain active until the next Congress. But the deputies, if you check in the Constitution, the president has got the powers to appoint substantively.
But you are saying that the president has power to appoint an acting treasurer general?
Yes. He has got the power to. Through the National Council, yes, of course.
Your statement that was released after this National Council was that you said as a continuation of Congress. But what you're saying right now is totally different from your statement. Can you elaborate on that?
Those positions that you have talked about are not there in the continuation process. They are not occupied in the continuation process. Because this particular Congress that we had on the 27th of December was dealing with only one substantive position. That was of the president of the party. Then all other positions where gaps were then established due to natural decay and growth. The president has got the powers to recommend to those positions.
Which section of this constitution did you take these powers?
Powers of the president. You can do that.
Yours?
You can, as I said, the constitution is very clear. You can appoint the deputies substantively. But the principles of those particular positions are only acting. And that's what is there. At the moment, the TG is not substantive, is acting. And other position that came from the appointment of President Douglas Moyo. On substantive position, they are acting.
So the vice president is also acting?
That is what is not the process. It's just begun. The process has begun to make sure that we are going to have that thing recommended in the next.
So right now,
yes,
the process has begun.
Yes.
Right now.
Yes, it has begun.
What is Elias Muzuri?
He's the vice president.
Acting vice president.
Yes, of course.
Is there anything like an acting vice president when you also have a substantive vice president? I mean, I want to understand the semantics.
We are trying to build up an alignment with the national constitution, where with two vice presidents.
Doesn't this prove that you're party of positions, you're greedy of positions, and you are now trying to accommodate each other?
It doesn't prove that. We are constructing our leadership. We cannot go with the vacant position. We are doing this, make sure that we become a complete structure. And we are aligning with the national constitution. There's nothing good about it. This is actually what we believe would actually make our party strong. Because we are, what I'm trying to push you to this side, we want to concentrate mainly on the positives, and let us not concentrate on the negatives. Or let us not concentrate on the blame game. Who did that? Who did that? Who did that? That will not give us any growth. We know we've had problems, we had challenges with each other, we had challenges with our STO friends, we had all those things. But we must not concentrate on those negatives because they will not give us growth. Actually, what we must be doing now is that we concentrate on the positives. What is it that will give the people of Zimbabwe a tangible benefit? What is that this country will benefit out of us? What is that this country will do? Would be happy on whatever we're going to be doing.
You chaired a meeting that readmitted Abednego Bebe. He says he doesn't know about it, and he says that meeting had no power to even readmit, even if he wanted to be readmitted.
Abednego Bebe, he has got the right to say whatever he wants. He has got the right to give his own personal comments about this. But what we showed to the world was the desire to unite.
But how do you readmit someone who has not shown any interest?
We don't want to dwell on those things.
Huh? But you must be fair, Chairman.
Do you really think, bless you, that the party will just sit down and say, we are not readmitting Bebe? There's been conversations before. But we're saying, let us not dwell on those.
Are you saying he's lying?
Let us not dwell on things that would not even improve our future.
Are you saying Abednego Bebe is lying that he never approached this party to be readmitted?
Abednego Bebe had discussions with President Monzwa on that issue. I don't want to qualify it as a lie. I don't want to make things worse. I still have the hope. I still have the hope of building this party. Because one of my major tasks is to build the organization. And they must be strategic. But I can assure you, I want to tell you two things. That the party did not just talk about Bebe. There was an engagement. And I do not qualify whether there was a lie or not. I don't want to say that. But it would have been very abnormal for people to think that the party just came out and say, let us readmit Bebe. Let us readmit Dorcas Band. No, that will not happen. That will never happen. But we're saying, let's manage these situations. Let us not put petrol on the flame. It would make things worse. Let us have the hope that one day we will be able to see each other. Let us have the hope that one day we will still be on the same platform to resolve the people of Zimbabwe's challenge. Someone
During the memorial service of Morgan Changai, as I watched it live, said that the MDC was split between the MDC that went and made partnerships with the G40 faction of ZANU-PF, and the other one made partnerships with the new dispensation. Do you agree with that statement?
That was his personal analysis. That was his personal analysis, and
I saw you clapping hands. Thought you agreed with it.
I don't think I agreeing to that. But the man gave his own analysis. 2018 election, one of the strategic vision that we had for the public to know was that one of the factions of ZANU-PF will vote with MDs. That was the strategic approach that we had. And we knew there was going to be a fight between Lacoste and the G40. That one we knew. And we said we'll get more votes out of one of those factions. And we knew that one of the factions will lose between the two factions. We knew about that. And when we went for the election in 2018, definitely the losing faction voted with us. It's true. It's true. The G40 faction voted with us, mainly in the areas of Mashonaland areas. That is what I was laughing at. You say, this man, what is he trying to say? It's a default setup that was actually analyzing. It's a default setup.
So you didn't go into a partnership with it, but they voted with you.
They voted with us.
Is that the position?
There was no written agreement with them, but they voted with us.
And now, having been embedded in both factions, you're in the MDC Alliance faction, now you're in the MDC-T faction. who is voting with the MDC-T at the present moment? Which faction of ZANU-PF is backing the MDC-T or voting with it rather?
No, there's no faction of ZANU-PF that's going to be voting with MDC-T. MDC-T is going to contest with ZANU-PF. Will be contest against ZANU-PF at the election as MDC-T. I don't know about our HStvZim friends whether they'll be voted for by any ZANU-PF faction. I don't know about that, but I can tell you the MDC-T will not be voted by any ZANU-PF faction at all. It's not possible because it will be contesting against ZANU-PF under President Mugabe.
Are you in any way talking to Nelson Chamisa at the moment?
At the moment, no. At the moment, no. But I do believe that in politics, there are no permanent enemies. In politics, there are common interests. And in politics, never dwell on enmity. In politics, never wish someone bad luck. In politics, ever wish to come together. Because if you are really doing these things for the people of Zimbabwe, you know for sure that unity is the only way. Unless if you are doing it for selfishness. I want people in Zimbabwe to forgive each other. If ever they hate each other before.
Who would you want to forgive you?
I naturally don't have enemies as a person myself. My nature, I don't have enemies. That's why at the moment I'm able to talk to anyone across the board. I talk to anyone in the party. I talk to anyone in the parties. I talk to anyone. I don't have that nature of hating anyone. But yes, of course, there could be other people that would think I hate them. I always want people to forgive me if ever they feel that I've caused any hate in them. I personally, myself, don't even spend a minute thinking about who did that to me. That is my nature. I don't even do that. Because you know, I talk to many people across the political divide.
Do you think you have discharged your role as chairman of the MDC from the time you became chairman with the dignity that the office deserves, and you have not made mistakes that have hurt the party that you need to be forgiven for?
I think there are other areas where sometimes people will not understand, and the people will feel hate about you. For example, let me give you an example: the 2018 elections. The 2018 elections, many people were hurt. Many people felt that as the national chairperson, I caused them suffer defeats or a loss of certain positions in councils and members of parliament. And they've gone public and say, I am sorry. And in other instances, I've been able to explain that this thing happened like this, happened like this. But however, we don't want to dwell on those excuses. We don't want to dwell on those issues. I played my role as well as the national chairperson. I want you to forgive me. Many people, I believe they forgave me because I explained myself as a national chairperson. But I've always wanted unity. That's my nature. My nature is that people must always unite. Actually, my unity call goes beyond political parties. It's a national unit of the Zimbabweans.
Are you aware, Senator Komichi, as you sit there, that your party, the MDC-T, is viewed as a proxy of ZANU-PF? Are you aware of that?
I'm aware about it.
What are you doing
We
about it?
are going to put up a program to deal with that. We are going to put up a program to deal with that. That perception has been inculcated in people's minds.
By who?
And the majority of the people might actually believe it.
By who?
But let me tell you, let me give you the background of this.
No, I want to, you can go ahead and give us the background, but I want to know who has inculcated that.
I would cover that in my answer. Remember when we had worked with leaving us as MDC in 2005? he was condemned as a ZANU-PF surrogate. He was given all names as ZANU-PF surrogate. In 2014, Tendai left us as well. He was again condemned as ZANU-PF surrogate, ZANU-PF project. Madam Kupe left us in 2018. She got the same tag, ZANU-PF surrogate. So, we are in the same unfortunate situation. Whenever we differ as political parties, the other party would have the guts to label, to condemn, and to label and condemn the other group, and say they are ZANU-PF. So this has been always the practice.
Let us get this clear. Welshman left the Morgan Tsvangirai, and it was called ZANU-PF, right? BT left Tsvangirai, was called ZANU-PF. Kupe, you said again, left Tsvangirai, it was called ZANU-PF. You have gone back, you have stayed with Tsvangirai, you are now being called ZANU-PF.
So what I'm saying is just a narrative.
So who has been calling these people ZANU-PF? That's the question.
I'm trying to say this is just a narrative that's used in politics whenever there's a political difference.
But Tsvangirai has never been called ZANU-PF. Why?
Yes, of course. Well, I'm saying any other group that is taken to have left the other group will take the opportunity or the chance to condemn it, label it, and condemn it.
So who are you calling ZANU-PF?
We don't call anyone ZANU-PF. We call ZANU-PF ZANU-PF. We know ZANU-PF under Mnangagwa. Is that what we call ZANU-PF? We don't have that culture of condemning. Especially me, because I know.
But you're not being fair. You're not being fair to your viewers.
No,
you're not being fair to the people who are listening to you, because you said the people who have left you in the past were called ZANU-PF. You were not in that past. Welshman left, was called ZANU-PF, presumably by the group that you were in. Because Welshman left you.
That's why.
So don't say.
That's why I said no. It would be true. It wasn't true that Welshman was ZANU-PF. It wasn't true that it was ZANU-PF. They had their own problems, which they believed were genuine in their own political understanding. But the other group would simply take that opportunity to label and condemn as a way of fighting the politics of that particular time.
Bebe says that you are backed by ZANU-PF. He said that you have had massive assistance from ZANU-PF. He's speaking from an insider's perspective. He said, maybe you can confirm in your history as the party, you have tried to have Zupco buses ferry people for your congresses, and Zupco has refused to even touch your money. This Congress, you got Zupco. This Congress, you got a venue that government has a stake in. And Bebe says this is clear evidence that it is walking like a duck, it is quacking like a duck, it is swimming like a duck, and therefore it is a duck.
Comrade Bebe is angry. Remember, Comrade Bebe wanted to participate in that Congress. Comrade Bebe is emotional about it. So his response is quite subjective in that manner. The venue was paid for. You can talk to the management of the hotel. It was paid for. The transport that was used was paid for as well. It's not that they were given.
Pepe doesn't dispute that. He says, in the past, they would not even touch your money. Why are they touching it now? This is what he said. He said the MDC in the past has tried to hire Zupco. Zupco has refused. In the past, they've tried to hire that the hotel managers, they have refused.
He is lying.
Okay.
We've never tried it.
We've never tried hiring
Zupco. We've never tried hiring Sheraton Hotel. It has been always an attitude. We've always have our own attitude towards those institutions. We've never tried.
So you just changed your attitude?
So Comrade Bebe must not lie to the people.
What made you change your attitude towards those institutions?
We are a different political outfit
From
which
the one
we-
led by Morgan Komichi.
No, not
Because
by
this
Morgan
attitude
Komichi.
was.
Do you
with
know?
Morgan
Do
Komichi.
you know that Morgan Komichi actually came from South Africa on a hospital bed? Do you know that Morgan Komichi came to the inauguration of the current president? Do you know Morgan Komichi was pro-talks? Do you know Morgan Komichi wanted to resolve things peacefully? Do you know Morgan Komichi even approached, even got to sit down with his enemies? Do you know that Morgan Komichi lost his wife? Do you know that Morgan Komichi was butchered by ZANU-PF? Do you know that Morgan Komichi was able to talk to Mugabe? Do you know that Morgan Komichi actually shared a cup of tea with Mugabe? Do you know that Morgan Komichi wanted peace and unity? So there's no difference from us. We are such a people. We follow the legacy of Morgan Komichi.
I will allow you, Senator Komichi, to look the people of Zimbabwe and tell them your promise, your commitment to this nation.
My commitment to the nation, blessing, is that I want a united nation. I want Zimbabweans in the opposition politics to unite. I want Zimbabweans in the opposition politics to identify who their opponent is. And their opponent is ZANU-PF. Their opponent is not other political parties. We might have political differences, but we must not be enemies. We must have political differences, but we must put the interests of the people forward. Let us put our personal interest at the back. Let us make sure that as political survivors, we leave the legacy of having resolved the problems of Zimbabwe economically and politically. So I want Zimbabweans to unite. Let me have a personal call on Douglas Monzora, Nelson Chamisa, Tendai Biti, Wilson Mngwe, and many other opposition political parties to put the people's interest first. Do not dwell on your differences. Do not dwell on the past. We've got the country to take care of. We've got the people of Zimbabwe to take care of. We've got the youth to take care of. We've got the women to take care of. This country must be united. And I also want to call upon the ZANU-PF government to have the people of Zimbabwe at heart. The ZANU-PF government must not take the opposition political parties as an enemy. The ZANU-PF government must be prepared to engage, to sit down with opposition political parties and resolve the economic challenges of this country, to resolve the political challenges of this country. The young generation has suffered and there's no future for them. Let us be responsible as leaders. Thank you so much.
This is our Zimbabwe. This is our only country. And we have had this discussion with the chairperson of the MDC-T, led by Douglas Togarasi Monzora. And he says, it's the only country that we need to save. It is ours and ours together. Let us unite as a people. Let us save it. This is your prime show. This is the situation right now. This is Zimbabwe. Thank you for joining us. Until next time. Thank you, Senator Komichi.